I'm going to show you how to make your Squarespace Heroes section stand out a little more with a simple animation trick. We'll be able to turn any headline into an animated image mask using CSS. I'm going to show you the exact setup, the CSS I used, and how to swap in any image so that you can make yours feel a little more dynamic. So let's dive in. So I found this effect on a blog post that's titled CSS Text Animations, 40 Creative Examples to Try. And it's, I think, the fifth effect down, which is the text masking effect. And the nice thing about this is that they have the code pens embedded into the website, so you can grab the code or see how these effects are working. As you can see, the HTML is pretty simple, and the CSS is all right here so that you could see how the effect is being made. So I'm going to walk you through the setup in the CSS and how I got this to work on a page that I built on Squarespace for this demo. So I started by creating a pretty simple hero section with this large text element and the smaller text element and a CTA. So for this large heading element, I created a heading 1, but set it to stretch to fill so that this will scale all the way across the whole layout. If that's off, it's just gonna take the size of the H1. So turning that on makes it stretch across the whole layout so that we can see the effect better. What we want to do to make this work with CSS so that we only target this section is when we go to edit section, we want to go down to the anchor link area. And since this is a unique identifier, this will only target this section on the page. So I'm going to add something that identifies this section so that we can target with CSS later. Since this effect is going to rely on a background image, we want to make sure we upload it to our assets library. If we navigate to our assets, we'll see an image that we uploaded here, and we need to get the URL of this image for our code. So an easy way to do that is if you just click on the 3 dots here and look at the file details, you can right click and open the image in a new tab, and that will open it in the new tab with the URL that you can paste into your CSS code. So I've added the CSS code to the site, and you can see our text has disappeared. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is we don't have the background image added yet, and 2 is we have the color set to transparent. So if I were to take the transparency off, we'll see the text again here. But what we want to do is get the URL from our assets library that we got in the previous step. Now that we have the URL in there, we can turn our transparency back on, and you'll see that the image starts showing up behind the text now. You'll see that we're using our anchor ID that we added into the section. We called it Home Hero, and we're targeting the H1 since we made that large text an H1 element. So this is how the effect is targeting the text in this container. I'll walk you through what some of these CSS declarations are. So the background image is the URL that we're using that we want to show behind the text. The background size set to 200% is basically doubling the size so that we have some room to go from left to right so that the animation looks like it's panning. The background position is showing 0 and 50%, and these are just the X and the Y values of how that image is positioned behind the text. Background clip is what takes the text and makes it into a mask. So if I were to comment that out, you'll see that it's just going to be a square. You'll also notice that I've been commenting some things out in 2 places, and that's because we have these fixes for WebKit browsers, and these are really doing the same thing as the other declarations above. These are just targeting older browsers, in this case Safari and older versions of Chrome, so that the effect works on those also. And then the last part of this is the actual animation. So this animation declaration is actually calling this keyframes animation below, and it's telling it how long to animate for and to animate infinitely so that it doesn't just do it once and stop, And then alternate is telling it to go forward and then go in reverse. And linear is just the easing. We don't have any easing, so we're just doing a linear motion here. So the keyframe animation is telling the background how to animate. So at 0%, it's telling it that the X position is at 0. So we're seeing the left side of the image. And at the end of the animation, when it reaches 100%, we're telling it to move the background position to 100% of the X value so that we're seeing the right side of the image. So that's what's creating this left and right motion of the image behind the text. So making adjustments to this effect is pretty simple. So you can adjust the speed of the animation. So right now it's set to 60 seconds. But if I change this down to 10, you'll see that the image will start moving a lot faster behind the text. So you can play around with the different speeds to see which one fits best. Right now the animation is moving from left to right only, but you could also have it moved from top to bottom or on the Y plane by adjusting the second value in the background position here. So you'll see now it's moving in a more diagonal way instead of just left and right. Since this is tied to your site styles, this will always take on whatever heading font you have in your template. So if you had something a little more condensed, it will take on that font and match the rest of your template. So that's a pretty simple way of taking an image and putting it behind some text on your site and creating a little bit of extra animation to draw a little more attention to a section of your site. If you want to see more ways that you can use CSS to make small enhancements on your Squarespace site, let me know in the comments and I'll continue making these videos. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.